Hey, it's Cody. Thought I'd hop on here since it's over halfway through December and just talk about some of the best and worst decks that I worked with this year. I do want to preface this by saying, obviously, this is my opinion. I don't care if you disagree with me. That sounds like a you problem. If you, like things that I didn't like, go for it. Also, I do want to specify that these weren't necessarily decks that came out in the year 2023. They're just ones that I either got or worked with this year. So I had to really limit myself here because I can't. If you watch the video where I did best and worst books of the year, I do actually like more things than I dislike. So I did limit myself to three. I have 3 tarot decks. I have 3 oracle decks. And then 3 decks that I disliked. Well, 2 decks, like, personally, that I didn't like. And then one thing is kind of more of a publishing trend. Okay, so we'll start off with tarot decks. The first deck is, comes in a box, and I put it in this bag because I just did. All right. This is, I have the book here. This is the Fyodor Pavlov Tarot. Now, this is a mass market deck. I think this deck is phenomenal. I think this actually came out last year, but I got it at the beginning of this year, and I've been working with it. I love the artwork. I love the way that the things in the cards are depicted. He has done such a good job with the guidebook. Like, the guidebook even will talk about, like, why he drew, why he depicted things in this way. I believe this deck is US Games. Yeah. That's US Games, right? The little fool guy? Fuck, I don't even remember right now. Even, like, this is a more expensive, like, mass market deck. I think it was like $40 US or something, which, that's pricey for a mass market deck. The card stock is very nice. It's actually linen. You can't really see, like, the texture's not so extreme that it makes the cards slippery, if that makes sense. Like, it shuffles beautifully. It's got this gilding, but it's not like the hard, crusty kind. This deck is such a good reader. Like, this feels like a classic to me. Like, if I just want a reading that doesn't really have any, like, bullshit or frills, I actually have been reaching for this instead of, like, an RWS. Just because, I don't know, I feel like maybe the more modern interpretation of it, without it being, like, modern, I'm not talking about, like, some of those decks. Fucking, oh my god, what are they even called? Modern fucking witches or some shit like that. Like, it's not like that kind of shit, which I'm decidedly not a fan of. But it just sort of updated takes on some of the stuff without feeling like too modern. I don't even know how to explain what I'm saying. I love this deck. Like, if I had to pick one tarot deck that I think was the best that I worked with from this year, it would be this one. I've read for myself with it. I've read for others with it. And, like, I feel like it's never failed me. Like, this shit is just, yeah, US Games. It's dependable. Like, it's straightforward. I love this so much. The guidebook is so good. So, yeah. I think this might actually be my tarot deck of the year. I don't know. I'm not really, like, giving them awards like that, but I fucking loved it. Superb. All right, the next one is the Ritual Tarot by Tierra May. This was gifted to me in a fucking bizarre act of kindness by a new friend of mine this year. So I think she was probably one of the only good things to happen this year. This year has sucked ass. Like, not just, like, collectively, but also individually. On an individual level, I think every aspect of my life has been fucking shit this year. Anyway. The Ritual Tarot. This, okay, I don't know if, this is, not the newest edition. There's one that's in pre-order or something. I don't know what's different about it. So if you have something that looks different than this one, I don't know. All right. So, this is a collage deck. It's like a busy collage deck. And when I'd seen other people sort of mention it before, I was like, that's just not really a me deck. That's not really something that I feel like I would work well with. And I gave it a chance, and this deck is fantastic. Like, I reach for this deck all the time, and not even necessarily for readings, I just look at it. Like, something about the artwork choices draw me in for this. Like, I don't know, man. This deck is something. It's the kind of deck that doesn't really want, for me, to answer, like, small questions. If I was like, what's my day gonna be like today? Or, you know, fucking a question about a job or, like, relationship or something. I feel like this is one of those decks that is so large, it's, like, zoomed way out. It can't even see shit like that. If that makes sense. This is like, you ask this deck questions about, like, world affairs or, like, huge shifting energies. It to me personally, oh my god, this card fucks me up. It feels like it only wants to talk about large things. And it feels very, not necessarily that it feels remote, but it feels very large or old or something. I don't know how to explain that, but I have been working actually so well with this deck. I think with a lot of, like, the Israel and Palestine shit, shit going on in the US where I live, Russia and Ukraine shit. Like, there has been so much shit going on this year that I feel like this deck really just has a lot to say. It wants to comment on these sorts of things, which I'm here for. I'm here for that shit. Also, this is not a deck where I would draw more than one card. Like, some decks, when they just feel like their scope is really big, I don't feel like drawing a bunch of cards. Like, if I had the Fyodor Pavlov Tarot, I would pull a bunch. You know what I mean? It's an easy reader. It's simple. It's quick. It's to the point. It's accurate. This one I would not. And, like, really, if you back up, like, these are both just tarot decks, right? I do personify my decks, but also really, what's the point of having more than one deck if you all just plug them into the same thing? Like, I don't know. The decks have energy. I use that to personify them, but I don't know. This is a very different kind of deck than the Fyodor Pavlov, but I just love it so much. Put this guy back. Okay, so my third... Oh god, I don't even know where to put this. I'm running out of room. I really struggled with only picking 3 tarot. I struggled even more with only picking 3 oracle decks that I really like this year. Like, I can't just sit here and show you, like, the good things about every single deck that I worked with this year, because that would be, like, 3 hours. So I did finally go with this one. This is the Lucid Dreams Beginners Tarot. Now, this deck has recently, since I got this one, come out, instead of being like this kind of pinky, sandy color, there is one that has, I think, black or really dark gray borders. Now, these have the artwork, but they also have keywords, and I agree with the keywords. I think that a lot of times decks will have keywords, and I find myself arguing with them. Like, that, I have a hard time ignoring keywords when they're on a card, and I take issue with them, I think, a lot. I just like that. But I don't, I mean, maybe I might look at, a card meaning and be like, I mean, I guess I could see that, but I wouldn't outright be like, I don't think that's what that means at all. Like, you know what I mean? I worked with this deck a surprising amount, considering that I'm not a fucking tarot beginner. And this really isn't like my style of artwork, but something in like the late spring and throughout the summer struck me. And they were having the Saint Soleil website was having some sort of, oh my gosh, I forgot what it was called. I don't know if it's ongoing all the time or only sometimes. It was like Love and Relove initiative or something like that, where decks that were returned, maybe decks that were slightly damaged, people could like send in their copies for like probably store credit or something. But anyway, so the people could get a little more affordable copies of this. And I was like, damn, that was the thing stopping me from getting this. I don't know why I was like so into wanting this deck. But yeah, so I was able to get this. I was able to afford having this copy, and I don't see anything wrong with it. Like, this is scuffed up because I put it in my purse, but like, everything was really flawless. The cardstock is nice. The gilding is nice. Like, this is an independently produced deck. I feel like I like what this represents. Instead of, there's a lot of people starting to read tarot lately, and instead of being like, oh, you need to start with like Rider-Waite-Smith deck or like one of its clones. I mean, this is pretty close, but or like a lot of times they'll make like beginner decks that are sort of childish. Like this is a fully grown up deck, and it has the keywords on it in a way that just looks, it's like, it's classy. I would, if I were just getting into tarot now, I'd be like, hell yeah, like this is a deck. It doesn't feel childish. It doesn't feel like patronizing. I really like this. I think the depictions are good. I think it's got a good amount of, like Rider-Waite-Smith symbolism in the cards. We've got our elemental symbols. We've got our, zodiac signs. We've got upright and reverse meanings. I really like that they have come out with this in black. Honestly, I think that I would have preferred, maybe part of me would have preferred it, but like when I was really working with this deck, I used this for the deck and walk that I embarrassingly fell off of, and through my fault only. Like I'm just flaky like that, but I don't know. I was really feeling this in like the warmer months. And I feel like this is, I hope this is the beginning of a trend of more accessibility for independently produced decks, as well as like decks feeling approachable for beginners, but without being childish. And I'm impressed by this deck. I know that this is really not the kind of deck that normally I would be into. But I really am into this one. Yeah. So these are the tarot decks. This came with a guidebook, but it like barely doesn't fit in the box. I also really like the box. I do wish the guidebook had been a bit smaller and just would nip in there too. But really, honestly, I kind of feel like the guidebook it just sort of fleshes out the key words and phrases that are already on the card. So, all right, now to the Oracle decks. The first one that I worked with this year is the Earth, Moon, and Shadow Oracle. This has dust on it. This deck, I remember seeing it when it launched on Kickstarter and stuff, and I was unable to get it at that point, and this deck was gifted to me. And this is okay. I'm really excited about Oracle decks lately. I feel okay. No offense to tarot, but there's really only so many ways you can show the same ideas. I feel like Oracle decks are really out here pushing boundaries and just expectations of what kind of things decks can talk to you about, what they can be used for. Oracle decks are really, I think, where the expansion is happening right now. I'm not trying to say like Tarot's dead or some shit like that. I'm just saying I am really feeling Oracle decks. This has been a couple years now, I think, that I feel like they're coming in with the fresh approach that I really appreciate. This has a lot to do with shadow work. Obviously, this is the Earth, Moon, and Shadow Oracle. The guidebook is good. The artwork is beautiful. The meanings, this deck has been so helpful. Like, I do a lot of like self-reflection kind of stuff and drawing cards to sort of help me like, where did I fuck this up? You know what I mean? This is one of those inner work kind of decks. It's not gonna, it's not for outward external sort of matters. And I am very impressed with this deck, and I cannot believe that I am in possession of this. I mean, we got Treachery, Earthing, like a lot of these cards, Mischief and Mayhem, they easily skew negative. And I think for a long time it was like, those 44 card house decks and shit. And they were all just positive, fluffy kind of shit. And Oracle decks, I think, have really been sort of, they've course corrected. Not that they're overtly negative, but to be much more balanced. And taken much more seriously, I think, than they used to be. I believe that there is a tarot deck that's like in this style and similar, that is currently in the works, by Rue and Vervain, I believe. Yeah. I could be wrong. No, I'm pretty sure that I'm not. There's no way I dreamed that. Okay, sometimes, like, I can't even tell shit that I've made up in reality. I should probably, like, talk to somebody about that, but the point is, this deck it's like a shadow work deck without being over the top. It's workable. You know what I mean? Like, it's practical. All right, next I have, okay, I made this bag for it. This is the Kantaji Oracle. Now, this is a mass market deck. It's round. I know some people hate that. This is my favorite card in this deck, Clouds Pass But the Mountain Remains. The artwork in this deck is so fucking weird. The titles, the meanings are just really things you don't normally see places, but it's so powerful. Like, I don't know how to explain very well how powerful this deck is in the way that it explains things. I really like when decks and their card meanings connect directly with nature. To me, that really is the heart. It's the core of my practice. And I sometimes have trouble connecting with ones that aren't like that at all. This one is so very much nature-based. And these messages are the kinds of ones you can really sit with. Like, a way that you can use this deck is there are 52 cards, there's 52 weeks in a year. So actually card number 1 starts on the winter solstice, and then as you go through each number, the cards are for each week. If that makes any sense. Like, 1 card a week. I don't know how to explain what I'm saying. I am not doing that because I know myself and I won't stick with it. But really, what I'm trying to say is this deck is beautiful. It's like, it's seasonal. It's so earthy. The weirdness is charming. Like, it's not just being quirky for quirky's sake. And that shit pisses me off too. Like, I can tell when shit is genuine and like authentic versus when it's some like put on act. Do you know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm just over here rambling and everyone's like, I don't fucking know what you're talking about, bitch. This, yeah. Whenever I think that I'm ready to finally put this deck away for a while and try something else, I inevitably keep pulling it back out. I got this, I think it was January, or it might have been last December, but I didn't pull it out until January. And this is probably my number one Oracle deck that I've been working with this year. Like, I love it so much. All right, let's put this guy away. All right, my last Oracle deck. This is another mass market deck. This is the Compendium of Witches. So I got this deck. All right, at first, because I'm a dumbass, I didn't understand what I was looking at, because these cards there's 60 cards and they're broken down into 30 of one kind and 30 of another. So 30 of them are whispers and 30 of them are voices. So I would see people, posting like these cards. I'm like, damn, what deck is that? And so I, look in the hashtags and see that it was the Compendium of Witches. So then when I click on that to see other pictures, I was running into like items on a white background, kind of. I'm like, what? There's no way that's the same deck. Well, it is. These are the whispers, these are the voices. And it's sort of explained in a way that it's like, these are more like major arcana and these are minor. I don't know about that necessarily. But these cards certainly hold more weight. So like the Explorer, and then, I like the artwork. This is... The creator of this deck was doing research in... Oh my god, where was it? Let's see if I can find... The rural highlands of Bosnia. So I think this is such an interesting deck. And I will say, sometimes decks come with like a system, and I ignore that. And don't do that, because I was like, I'll just draw a card from this and fuck the whole system situation. No, don't do that, because it wasn't like giving me anything like profound, really. So the way I've been doing it is I would be like, all right, one voice, and then we'll, 2 whispers. And then, see what those are. So this one's like a person, sort of a character, like person traits. And then these ones are kind of like situations surrounding them. So these have been very profound messages. Doing it this way, most people are probably going to be like, well, yeah, that's what happens when you use a deck like you're, like it was fucking supposed to be used. But you know what? Oops. So I have really been liking this deck as well. Boop. Oh my god. Fuck. I do these videos on like this little sewing machine that my husband's grandma was getting rid of, and it's like one of those wooden ones that like folds out, you know what I mean? And it's actually, it's too small for this. That's ultimately what it is. Okay. All right. Sorry, let me get a drink. The first thing that I want to bitch about is, all right, before anybody jumps down my throat, I don't mean this specific deck. I don't mean this actual The Witch's Garden, okay? This is the same artist who did this deck as the Compendium of Witches. So, as you can see, I really like that artist. Okay, this is sort of maybe a publishing trend that I want to bitch about for a sec. The problem with this one, okay, this is the only one of these decks that I will be keeping. Okay, so this is published by Llewellyn, the big ass box, the big ass book. with actually not that much information in it. And the cards. Okay, so I think this is the best of them. My issue is this. Llewellyn's been shitting out decks with his exact same box, the exact same card situation, the exact same guidebook. My issue is not necessarily with this deck. The reason that I have this one is because I have gotten others and I have already offloaded that shit. The Tarot of Owls, Tarot of Dragons or something like that. Now this one isn't bad. I don't mean this one specifically for the billionth time. But a lot of these feel... I kind of wish that I hadn't gotten rid of one of those other ones. Just so I could really show you what I'm talking about. But they're like oversaturated with color. Maybe I shouldn't have even pulled this one out because this one's not like that. But like overly bright, like electric blues and like lime greens and shit. The Tarot of Owls had fucking lime green owls. The Tarot of Dragons had a blue that literally like I had to squint to look at. And the color choices, there was also a Tarot of Vampires or something like that, that Llewellyn also came out with at some point this year. And it was very much the same. Really, like, hot pinks and fucking, like, electric fucking purples and shit. And it feels cheap, even though you're paying, like, $35 US for the shit. And those ones... I don't necessarily want to say felt gimmicky, but they didn't... I don't know how to say this without being a fucking dickhead. It's... Let's look at these cards for a minute while I gather my thoughts. It feels like they're being shit out with very little, like... creativity isn't necessarily the word that I'm looking for, but they're just a bunch of Rider-Waite-Smith clones featuring owls or vampires or fucking dragons, or like it's not giving the feeling of something that I don't mean offense to like the artists. It's not that the artwork in them isn't good. It's something I feel like about the color choice that they're all seeming to have in common. That feels like, have you ever colored something with fucking highlighters? Like, I don't know how else to fucking explain it. Yeah, this deck I should not have pulled out while I was talking about this. But this I think is the only one that's different. These decks in this thing, oversaturated color, the coloring makes them feel cheap, and like really these are not cheap decks. Like when I think of a cheap deck, I think of like cardboardy cardstock and like a tuck box that rips, you know, the second time you open the thing. Like it's something about these decks is irritating me. Maybe I'm not articulating it well. I'm not appreciating these. That's all. Alright, next. This one I think is an honorable mention. This is Witch, woman in total control of herself. I hate the guidebook of this deck. Specifically, the problem is the guidebook. I think it's corny. Angie Sullins, the deck is by Angie Sullins, has shit out, I don't even know how many decks this year. It's been bizarre. But I will say I like the artwork in this one. I don't always know what these keywords mean. And when I get into then the guidebook, I hate the guidebook. It's very corny. Okay. I just... Harry Potter references, Defense Against the Dark Arts kind of shit all over in there. Fucking... It's... I did like a walkthrough review or something of this deck. I think I explained it better there. I don't remember exactly how I said it. It's just this... It's something I think... Like, when I got this deck, I didn't even know who Angie Sullins was. as far as like deck creating or anything. I just saw these beautiful artwork and I was like, damn, I want to have that deck. And it turns out that I found how many other decks had been shit out this year by her. It's like these publishing companies just find somebody and just fucking ride that train right into the goddamn off a cliff, like, until people are so sick of it. And yeah, these card meetings are just not for me. I'm sure there are people out here that love this deck because they like the guidebook. To me, it was a no-go to me. Which is sad because the artwork is beautiful. All this crap in here. We must prepare for the worst deck that I tried to work with this year. You might already know what it is if you've seen some of my other videos. It's the Mythos Tarot by Helena. I think that's Elias. Guidance from the Greek Gods. Okay, I pre-ordered this because you can only see, I think, 5 cards like before it came out. And it showed the Fool, who is Pan. It showed Dionysus as the Hierophant. And I feel like if I had seen more cards, I would have known better than this shit. It also was billing itself as like specific Greek deities were like attached to the cards. And that just sounded really cool. So I pre-ordered this bitch. And what I ended up with was almost like portrait style things. Face-tuned portrait style people. Okay, I'm going to stop right here because this is one of my thing. This artwork, to me personally, does not represent deity in any way. Like, it just doesn't have like that power. Now that's just me, okay? Maybe other people look at this and they're like, yeah, it's fine. But sorry. It doesn't fit. Everybody's young and like face-tuned. I'm not positive that these like illustrations were made for this deck. Because I actually went to the artist, the deck creator's page, and saw a lot of these, and I'm not sure that all of them were specifically made with being a deck of Greek gods, like, in mind. Everybody's young except for, like, a couple of the men. The men always have, the gods have more powerful postures. All of the goddesses are very... Like, this is just not, like... This is the moon. Everybody's, like, 19 at most, except for, like, some of the gods, but, like, at least they're hot. No, look at this picture! Please. And there is one person that is not white in here. I don't think there's anybody else. On top of that, I don't think that the way deities were assigned to the cards doesn't even make sense. Like, Zeus is the emperor, okay. Hera is the empress. But then, like, most of them, though, are just fucking slapping shit on there with no regard to who is what, necessarily. Okay, I believe I was just thinking about this one. This is the Ace of Coins, which I don't actually know how you say that, but if you get in the guidebook, he's some sort of wind deity. Coins is earth, so that's fucking weird. I feel like it was poorly researched. I dislike the artwork, like I downright dislike it. And there's also, like, celebrities in here. Who was the girl? I fucking hate this card. What the fuck? The Phantom of the Opera movie. The girl that was Christine is in here someplace. Fucking Angelina Jolie is in here someplace. It's just so not... It's just so corny. Look at this. Look at this. That's Athena. What the fuck? I feel like it's diminishing the deities themselves by calling artwork like this the deities themselves. Is that the same face? Like, look at this. Their lip fillers and shit. It is so just uncomfortable looking through this deck. I saw, this was one of the cards I saw, and I was like, oh, maybe there's, like, hope for the rest of the deck, because this card looked kind of cool, but when I realized it was just a bunch of, like, drawings of selfies, Here's Christine. This deck was a huge disappointment to me. Here's Angelina Jolie. Look at her. Why is it not focusing? It was a disappointment. Honestly, I shouldn't have pre-ordered. I got excited when I saw a couple of the cards I thought looked pretty cool. This, like, I get secondhand embarrassment looking at this because, like, look at this fucking thing. No. That's somebody famous too, isn't it? I think so. Man, it's just, this is the fucking High Priestess. I'm sorry, but no thanks. That's the fucking Empress. Like, I feel like I'm not able to think of the words to explain what exactly it is that I dislike so deeply about this deck. It's just, it's everything. It's pretty much everything about this deck that I can't stand. So, yeah, this was the worst deck that I tried to work with this year. Honestly, saying tried to work with is being generous for this deck. I really got it out. I looked through it. First I was like, oh, Jesus, maybe I could, like, use it for, like, if I was working with the look at this fucking thing. The deities. But these do not give me the energy of these deities at all. I feel like I'm scrolling through, like, Instagram pages of, like, if the algorithm didn't learn what I liked looking at. Get that shit away from me. All right. I guess I've bitched long enough. Yep, those were the best and the worst tarot and oracle decks of the year 2023, according to me. I mean, obviously, if you, like, love this deck, I'm gonna judge you, but, like, ultimately, who gives a shit? So, all right, thanks for watching. Bye.